Hello and welcome to Reference Sources and Services. I am your instructor, Andrea Lorenz. Today we are going to go through a little bit of history and I'm going to give you an introduction to reference. So this first slide you can see is a quotation from Samuel Green. It says, "Each question, no matter how routine, is of importance to the user who asks it, and that meeting the information needs of each library user is the goal of an effective reference service." Samuel Green is considered to be the founding father of reference. This quote is from his 1876 work, Personal Relations Between Librarians and Readers. This was literally the first work to be published about what we today consider to be reference. So Green's work was seminal. Before his publication, librarians focused mainly on acquiring and organizing materials, and users were expected to find what they needed on their own. So librarians didn't help people find the materials that they needed. So Green, on the other hand, felt like librarians should help people find what they need and present it to them. So this is a little bit different than what we think of as reference today, because we're always trying to search now for moments to teach patrons how to help themselves. Green was more focused on just helping patrons find what they needed. In the 1890s, what Green had termed assistance to readers became known as reference work. In 1900, reference rooms began to be established in libraries all across the country. So these rooms were full of encyclopedias, dictionaries, and other works that were helpful to most patrons. Again, the materials were non-circulating, and the room was frequently staffed with a reference librarian to assist any patrons. The early 20th century, most reference questions were taken at a reference desk while the patron was there in person. But in the early 20th century, librarians started to answer some phone calls by telephone. But it wasn't until the 1960s that librarians began to develop bibliographic instruction, or what we call information literacy today. Since then, reference librarians have adopted all kinds of new technology with which to answer reference questions, email and chat being very prevalent today. So there are three types of reference services that libraries offer. They offer information services, guidance, and instruction. A little caveat to this is that a service that's frequently requested by patrons is directional services. Where are the bathrooms? Where are the biographies? Where do I find popular magazines? Those are frequent questions that you'll hear in a library. Ready reference is the process of answering quick factual questions after consulting a source or two. An example of a ready reference question would be, what is the capital of Spain? Or how many people live in Grand Forks? Bibliographic verification is verifying that something has been published and that citation is correct. Bibliographic verification is probably not something that you'll be doing frequently in a school library. It's usually something that is done more frequently at a research or an academic library. Information and referral services involves linking people with information and services that they need. So an example might be linking students with an outside service that offers tutoring for ESL students, or it might be involve finding an SAT prep class for a student, or finding the phone number and the information about ice skating classes, something like that. Research questions may require multiple sources and will often take more time. They frequently require the librarian to skim resources and synthesize what they found for a patron. So again, this is not frequently something that you're going to be doing in a school library. For guidance consists of several different elements: reader's advisory, bibliotherapy, term paper counseling, and selective dissemination of information. Reader's advisory involves helping readers find the right book. This is something that is common in a school library, especially when students are tasked with finding a book for a book report, or they need to read a book for the accelerated reader program. Reader's advisory is something that we will talk about more in depth later in the semester. Bibliotherapy is not something that is that common in libraries, but it's helpful to be aware of it. Bibliotherapy is the use of reading or film to assist the personal growth or rehabilitation of a person or group. So school counselors may be more familiar with this. They may request that you order books on specific topics that will help troubled students. Maybe books about perfectionism or books about procrastination, something like that. Term paper counseling is popular in high school libraries. Librarians will often give individualized help with term papers, helping the student to define the topic and giving the student specific resources to consult and search terms to use. Frequently, a teacher will bring in his or her whole class for a term paper clinic in which the librarian, with the help of the teacher, will assist all of the students with their research. The last segment of guidance is selective dissemination of information. Librarians will send out information about new resources or new services in order to ensure that patrons are aware of the services and resources available in the library. So maybe you send an email out to your whole staff saying, hey staff, guess what? We just got a bunch of books about teacher education or a new way of teaching in the library. Come check them out. So instruction can come in many different forms. Only a few of them are tours, orientation, and source instruction. Many libraries offer tours at the beginning of the year to new students or to returning classes who may have quote-unquote forgotten about the library. Libraries also offer orientation sessions to the library in which the librarian will instruct students how to decipher the Dewey Decimal System or how to use the card catalog. Another form of instruction is the use of resources. This form of instruction has become increasingly popular over the years as electronic resources have become more prevalent. So librarians are often asked to provide an informational session about databases that are particularly useful in one field of study and how to use those databases. The next slide has a link to one of my favorite library tour videos. So take some time to watch this video. Make sure to introduce yourselves on the forum and have a great week.